Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're jumping into something, something lots of English learners really grapple with. That moment you want to speak, but your brain just kind of stalls.
Yeah, it gets stuck translating everything first in your head.
Right. Like this whole extra step that just slows everything right down.
Yeah.
Makes things awkward.
It's a huge hurdle, honestly. You might understand things you read, you can listen to conversations, maybe understand quite a bit, but then boom, time to actually speak. And that internal translation thing, it just trips you up.
Makes you hesitate or just freeze sometimes.
Totally. Freeze is the word for it.
Exactly. So look, we found some really insightful source material on this. A discussion that really digs into why this happens and, maybe more importantly, some practical ways to break free from that habit.
Yeah, very practical stuff. Actionable things.
So our mission here in this deep dive is basically to unpack all of that. Give you those tips, those insights straight from the source.
The aim being to help you bridge that gap, right, between just understanding English and actually speaking it more naturally.
More fluently, yeah.
Yeah.
Without that internal stutter. Okay, then let's unpack this. So first off, why? Why does this whole internal translation thing happen so much?
Well, the source material we looked at points to a really core reason. It's often because learners approach English almost like an academic subject.
Like math or history, something you just study.
Exactly. Something with rules to memorize rather than, a practical skill you actually do.
Ah, okay. So if it's just a subject,
then your brain tends to default to what it knows best, your native language, to process everything. So the input comes in English.
You mentally translate it.
Right. Then you figure out your response in your native language.
And then translate it back out into English to say it.
Precisely. And it's incredibly inefficient, isn't it?
Yeah, the source really highlights that. It makes your brain work like double time.
Think about the processing load.
No wonder it slows you down. And it totally explains that frustrating freeze moment when you need to reply quickly.
It's almost like trying to run two different programs for the same simple task. The source really emphasizes that shifting your perspective is key.
How so?
Seeing English not just as something to study, but as a skill to be actively practiced and used. That seems to be the foundational step to rewiring that translation habit.
Okay. So, perspective shift first. Treat it like a skill.
Yeah.
But if the goal is to stop translating, start thinking directly in English. I mean, that feels like a huge leap. Where do you even start?
Yeah, it can feel daunting. The source suggests starting really, really small, like surprisingly small.
How small?
The idea is just to build some confidence first. Prove to your own brain that it can actually form thoughts directly in English, even if they're super simple thoughts. No need to aim for, perfect complex sentences straight away.
Forget the complexity for now.
Absolutely. The source uses this nice analogy. Think of it like building blocks. You start with the basic blocks you definitely already know. Simple words, maybe simple phrases you're comfortable with.
And just practice putting those together directly in English.
Exactly. You're not aiming to build a linguistic masterpiece on day one. Just connect a few blocks.
So like, dog, brown, dog is brown. That level.
Pretty much. That simple act of combining words, directly in English without going via your native language, it starts to build those direct pathways in your brain. It's like proof of concept for yourself.
Right. Makes sense. Build the habit small. So let's get really practical then. You've accepted it's a skill. You're ready to start small. What are some quick, actionable things the source says you can actually do? Maybe start it today.
Yeah, the source offers a couple of very accessible daily practices, really easy to integrate. The first one is basically name your world.
Name your world. Okay, what's that involve? That's kind of cosmic.
Not quite. It's much simpler. It just means look around you, wherever you are during your day. Just identify things in English.
Out loud or in your head.
Either. Silently is fine. Out loud if you're alone, maybe. The point is the mental act.
So I'm sitting here. This is a microphone. It's black. Like that.
Exactly that. Or my water bottle is on the table. The window is open. Simple observations. The source really pushes making this a conscious daily habit.
And the thinking behind that is?
Well, what it does, sort of on a cognitive level, is it trains your brain to directly link the English word to the actual thing, the object or concept in front of you.
Ah, so it bypasses the native language step.
Precisely. You see the pen, you think pen, not pen translate, pen. It creates that direct connection.
Huh. So simple. But I can see how that would work over time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. What was the second quick tip? You said the source mentioned something a bit more Internal.
Yeah, the second one. The source encourages you to, well, talk to yourself in English.
Okay. Maybe, maybe not loudly in the supermarket queue.
Probably not, but when you're alone, doing chores, walking, whatever.
Just narrate things.
Yeah, narrate your actions, your thoughts, your plans. Simple stuff again. I'm kind of hungry. What should I eat later? Okay, I need to send that email. I'm going to take a shower now.
And the source frames this as smart practice, right? Not just weird.
Definitely smart practice because it keeps those English thinking circuits in your brain active, firing regularly.
So even if no one else is listening, you're constantly sort of nudging your brain to form thoughts in English without the pressure of a conversation.
Exactly. It's creating your own immersion in a way, exercising that direct English pathway whenever you can.
Okay, those are great starting points. Naming things, talking to yourself, good for getting the internal wiring going in basic sentences. But what about, sounding a bit more natural, getting the flow right? Does the source cover that?
It does. It introduces a more advanced technique, something it calls shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, I think I've heard of this. What's the source's take on it?
They describe it as a really powerful method. Basically, you listen very closely to a native speaker, could be from a YouTube video, a podcast, maybe a scene in a movie, and you immediately repeat what they say, either right after them or even trying to speak at the same time.
Wow, okay. So you're literally echoing them.
Yes, but crucially, the source stresses you're copying more than just the words. That's key.
What else are you copying then?
You're trying to mimic the entire delivery. The tone of voice, the pronunciation, obviously, but also the rhythm, the intonation, the pauses, the speed.
The musicality of it?
Exactly. The source uses an analogy like, it's like acting. You're not just reading lines. You're trying to embody how the language sounds and feels when it's spoken naturally.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just the what, it's the how.
Precisely. And this technique, according to the source, helps you internalize something really important. It helps you understand that language isn't just a collection of words and grammar rules. It has its own flow, its own cadence.
Its own feel.
Yeah, its own feel. Shadowing helps you internalize how English feels when it's spoken authentically. And that's something that just translating in your head can never, ever teach you.
Right, because translation is purely about meaning, not about sound or rhythm.
Exactly. So shadowing is presented as a major step towards making English feel less like this foreign code you're deciphering and more like, well, like that second voice the source talks about later.
Okay, that second voice idea is interesting. But this shadowing and even the talking to yourself stuff, it raises a common question, doesn't it? People might be thinking, okay, these tips are fine, but I don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
Or I don't live where English is spoken. How do you get real speaking practice then? Does the source address that need for a partner?
It does, and it's actually quite clear on this point. While having a speaking partner is obviously beneficial, great even,
Sure.
the source insists you absolutely do not need one to make significant progress in overcoming the translation habit and starting to think in English.
Really? So you can practice meaningful speaking on your own. How? Beyond the talking to yourself thing we mentioned.
Well, it builds on that. The source suggests actively looking for moments throughout your regular day to integrate this kind of practice. Make it part of your routine.
Okay, like what kind of moments?
Like maybe describe what you're doing while you're washing the dishes. Okay, now I'm rinsing the plate. Or narrate your shopping list. Or comment on things you see while you're at the grocery store, those apples look good. Or where is the milk? Just thinking it or muttering it in English.
Or maybe when you're walking somewhere.
Yeah, think in English about where you're going, what you see along the way. The core idea from the source is you don't need a formal classroom setting or a scheduled conversation.
You can weave it into the fabric of your day.
Exactly. Turn everyday, mundane activities into mini practice sessions.
Right. And the crucial factor the source points to, which really ties all these different practices together, the naming, the self-talk, the shadowing, this daily integration.
Let me guess. Consistency.
You got it. Consistency. Doing it regularly.
Yeah, that makes sense. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, the source really emphasizes that it's the consistency in applying these simple, often solo practices every single day. That's the real game changer.
Not necessarily long sessions, but frequent ones.
Right. Even if nobody else hears you doing it, the point is you are actively, consistently training your own brain. Minute by minute, day by day, you're building and strengthening those neural pathways that let you think directly in English, the ones that bypass that slow translation route.
Okay. But let's be honest here. Changing a habit that's so deeply ingrained, like how you process language, It's going to be frustrating sometimes, right? The source must acknowledge that. People probably feel stuck or get discouraged.
Oh, absolutely. The source material is very upfront about that, and
Oh.
it offers some really important reassurance.
Which is?
That feeling. Totally normal. Completely, 100% normal. Every single person learning a language hits those walls, those moments of frustration.
So if you feel that way, you're not alone. It's not a sign
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong.
Not at all. The source frames it as just part of the process. It means you're pushing yourself. And it emphasizes that fluency, thinking in English, it isn't some sudden destination you just arrive at, perfectly formed.
It's a journey, not a light switch.
Exactly. It's a continuous journey. You don't have to be perfect today or tomorrow. You just have to be persistent.
Keep showing up.
Yeah. Keep speaking a little bit every single day, using these kinds of techniques we've talked about, even if it's just 5 minutes of naming things around you or 10 minutes of talking yourself through making breakfast. It all adds up.
And the source kind of paints this picture of the outcome, right?
Yeah.
If you keep going, keep doing these small, consistent things.
Yeah, it suggests that gradually English will stop feeling like this external subject that you're constantly wrestling with through translation.
And instead,
It starts to feel more internal, more natural. It becomes, as they put it, like your second voice.
I like that. Second voice.
Hmm.
So wrapping this up then, what this deep dive into the source material really seems to show is that, look, getting over that internal translation hurdle, it's not some impossible dream.
No, definitely not.
It seems entirely achievable, but it relies on consistent, focused practice that you can actually build into your normal, everyday life.
Right. It starts with that mindset shift, seeing English as a practical skill, not just a subject.
And then actively training your brain using those simple, accessible techniques the source lays out.
Like naming your world, talking to yourself, maybe trying shadowing.
And just consciously integrating English thinking into daily tasks, even mundane ones.
And the source is pretty clear. That consistency, doing these small things daily, is way more important than waiting for, the perfect teacher or a formal class or finding a native speaker to chat with for hours.
Those things can help. But the foundation is that daily personal effort. And remembering that feeling frustrated sometimes, it's okay. It's part of the journey.
It's a sign of effort, really, not failure.
Yeah. The goal ultimately, as this source puts it, is for English to start feeling less foreign and more like foreign, like that natural second voice for you.
Yeah.
Easier, more automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So as you think about trying out some of these practices, maybe leave you with this thought to chew on. If English could genuinely become like a second voice, a natural extension of your own thinking, how might that transformation truly change things for you? Not just how easily you communicate, maybe, but perhaps even the way you perceive things, the way you structure your thoughts, or even the range of ideas and feelings you feel you can express directly. It's quite a profound potential shift, isn't it? All maybe stemming from just changing how you practice.